5 Live, I'm Shiv, Aroor. It's been a day of intense drama in the heart of central Delhi. And we've chosen just 6 of those images to tell you what it was like out there. It was the Congress's Black Friday, a big, ferocious protest, escalating the political temperatures in the national capital on the issues of GST, inflation, price rise, unemployment. The notable aspect of this was the Gandhis were leading from the front. Sonia Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, all dressed in black to send out a message, not just to their cadres, but to the country as well as to the opposition, that this is game on for 2024. Is it going to work out? As we speak, as I bring you this broadcast, Priyanka and Rahul Gandhi, along with several other senior political leaders of the Congress party, are in police detention. They wanted to gherav the Prime Minister's house. They did not have permission and they were not permitted to do so. What followed has been turbulence, detentions, Dangal and Dharna. I'm going to take you down to each one of those images to tell you how they came to pass. I'm Shiv Aroor. This is 5 Live. These are the headlines. Massive political fight over the Congress's Black Friday protest. BJP calls Congress Dharna a drama. Says for the Congress it's always family first. Rahul, Priyanka and several other Congress netas still in detention. Enforcement Directorate says there's a threat to Bengal job scam accused Arpita Mukherjee's life. The agency demands that Arpita's food and water be tasted in jail. Big scoop by India Today. And while the Bengal scam unravels, Mamata Banerjee meets with Prime Minister Modi in Delhi. She's still in that meeting. She will also meet President Murmu later this evening. Meanwhile, Pakistan provokes on the 3rd anniversary of Article 370. India Today accesses anti-India toolkit to spread propaganda. Non-local labourer killed in a grenade attack in Pulwama. China sanctions Nancy Pelosi and her family after historic visit to Taiwan. Pelosi sends big message from Japan, says will not allow China to isolate the island nation. So the 4 big images that represent what the Congress made possible on the streets of central Delhi today. From the Congress office to outside Parliament to the buses that took all these leaders away. Sonia Gandhi in black, Rahul Gandhi in black, Priyanka Gandhi in black. Dramatic images of the 3 Gandhis on the front line of this protest after a very long time. All 3 of them were out there with the Congress cadres, and ailing Sonia Gandhi has felt the need to be physically present and visible much more than usual in recent times. Rahul Gandhi, recently returned from Karnataka, also wearing a black shirt, kicked off the proceedings. But the person who, whether it was intended or not, who has become the face, the most dramatic face of today's protest is Priyanka Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi's younger sister has stolen the limelight today with her words and what happened to her on the streets of Delhi. Remember that Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi are still in, Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka Gandhi, I beg your pardon, are still in detention by the police as we speak. Let's show you some more images of the other leaders who've been detained at this time. From leader of the party in the Lok Sabha, Mallikarjun Kharge, to K.C. Venugopal, who is the organization chief of the Congress party, to Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, to Harish Rawat and others. All of these leaders you see on your screen of the Congress party have all been detained by the police. They were bundled into buses and taken away. The police says they had no permission to protest there. The Congress says they have every democratic right to protest. There were lots of traffic diversions as a result of the huge Congress crowds. These 4 leaders also in police detention as we speak. Now let's take you closer in case you missed all the drama of the late morning and the early afternoon. Let's take you through the top defining images that I've chosen that tell you the story like nothing else about what happened today. Big defining image number one. Amidst this Congress Dharna against inflation and GST, Priyanka Gandhi was detained by the Delhi police in this escalating vicious face-off. And this is one picture, one image that has gone totally viral. Priyanka tried dodging the arrest, but was eventually picked up as the showdown escalated. This particular sequence, an unsettling sequence inside a car as the police try to take her away. She's refusing to go with them and they drag her away. Lady Cops with Priyanka Gandhi has become the most viewed image of today's Dharna. Defining image number two from today's Dharna, with the high drama outside the Congress headquarters and right before her detention, Priyanka Gandhi breached barricades and dodged police deployment to stage a sit-in Dharna. Once again, viral images of Priyanka Gandhi dressed all in black, climbing through those barricades with that huge crowd cheering her on and also chanting her name. Ironically, Priyanka Gandhi has turned out to be much more visible and on the front foot than her older sibling, Rahul Gandhi. Priyanka Gandhi, along with Rahul, both in detention at this point of time. Defining image number three, of course, Rahul Gandhi was also there. He had kicked off the proceedings. Rahul Gandhi too has been detained in a dramatic turn of events. He was detained right after he sat on that dharna against the government. He addressed a press conference earlier in the morning dressed in white, soon changed into black, and here he is being taken into that bus to be detained by the police. So Rahul Gandhi also fully in black, front-footing the protest today. Defining image number four, total Dangal in Delhi as this Congress netas took to the streets. This is one of the sequences where things rapidly escalated and a collision with the police happened. The huge protests come at a time when there is ED heat on the Gandhis. Remember, in the National Herald case, Rahul Gandhi has underscored this entire protest by saying, "Hum nahi darenge." That is the theme and the tonality of today's protest, and Rahul Gandhi has ensured that he, his sister and his mother have taken center stage in the proceedings. Big defining image number five, amidst the raging protests, many Congress leaders were detained for staging their dharna outside Parliament. There was a crackdown by the police. Several leaders, including Youth Congress Chief BV Srinivas and others, were dragged away just like this. Images of this kind became very, very common through the morning and through the afternoon as leaders like Harish Rawat and others were dragged away by the police. Big defining image number six, a picture accessed exclusively by India Today. Congress netas Shashi Tharoor and Sachin Pilot seen clicking selfies from detention, while Jairam Ramesh was seen scrolling through his phone as he sat with the other leaders. You can see Rahul there, you can see Priyanka, KC Venugopal, Gaurav Gogoi and others. It was selfie time for Shashi Tharoor and Sachin Pilot in police detention today. Defining image number seven, the Congress's Youth Congress Chief, BV Srinivas, one of the most high-profile protesters, and MP Jyotimani, who was suspended recently in the Lok Sabha, were carried away by the Delhi police in a dramatic manner. The Congress, being defiant, says, drag us, attack us, arrest us, but nothing can take us down. Nothing will take us and pull us down away from this path of protest. Jyotimani on your screen being dragged away by the police. Defining image number eight, Congress workers also clashed with the police outside Parliament premises amidst these protests. These were some turbulent images from barricading that was being crossed over by Congress leaders, youth leaders, as high drama was witnessed in the national capital. It spread from the Congress office to this location outside Parliament, and the situation continues to be tense. Big defining image number 9. It wasn't just the Gandhi siblings, remember, but Congress President Sonia Gandhi, who also took part in the protest, dressed in black for the parliamentary proceedings and lending her weight and her stature to this entire protest. And ailing Sonia Gandhi was out there physically present. She isn't always present during Congress protests. Sometimes she makes a token appearance. Today from Parliament, she continued to be there with the crowds. And defining image number 10 of the day, some of the Congress netas resorted to their own kinds of unique protests. This was before the actual Dharna and Dangal began. Some of them were seen cooking outside Parliament to stage a protest against the rise in LPG, GST, food prices, inflation, and the price of food items. This was how things began earlier in the morning. But it was the Gandhis by far who led today's Dharna and Dangal. They were the most visible. They were the ones rallying the crowds. They were the ones galvanizing the Karyakartas, and in many ways became the rallying point behind the energy and the tension that was made possible in central Delhi. Donning black, the Congress netas and workers were taking to the streets, but it was the three figures of Sonia, Rahul and Priyanka that were the generals of this army. Take a look at this report on how the drama unraveled in the national capital first.
फोर्स दिखाने के बाद हम चुपचाप से समझौता करके बस में बैठ जाएंगे, तो क्यों करें हम? ये विपक्ष की आवाज को दबाना चाहते हैं। पुलिस बल और लगातार पुलिस और कार्यकर्ताओं के बीच में यहाँ पर आप देख सकते हैं कि लोग जो सीधे तौर पर देखी जा रही है।
Off the grid for weeks, this was Priyanka Gandhi on Friday. Dressed in black, jostled by the police. Carried by Congress crowds, rapidly becoming the face of the fiercest Congress protest in many weeks.
इनको लगता है कि जितने भी इनके विपक्ष में जो कुछ कहता है उनको ये दबा सकते हैं, और इनको ये लगता है कि दबाने के बाद ऐसे अपनी फोर्स दिखाने के बाद हम चुपचाप से समझौता करके बस में बैठ जाएंगे.
Just returned from attempting a public patch-up of feuding leaders in Karnataka, Rahul Gandhi kicked off the Congress's Black Friday, setting the mood with this quip at a morning press conference before the Dharna. Rahul then changed into a black shirt and hit the streets, leading a fierce Congress crowd. After a collision with the police, he too was detained.
How are you enjoying the onset of dictatorship in India? Are you enjoying it? लोकतंत्र की जो मौत हो रही है, उसके बारे में क्या लगता है आपको?
Matriarch Sonia Gandhi, ailing but forced to become more visible in recent days, also threw herself into the protest dressed in black. The Gandhi family in a dramatic, turbulent spotlight weeks after mother and son were grilled by the Enforcement Directorate in the National Herald case. Lurching from one election loss to another, the high-profile Dharna allowed the Congress party to showcase its high command parivar after many years.
हम शांति से राष्ट्रपति भवन जाना चाह रहे थे। सारे के सारे एमपीज हैं राज्यसभा और लोकसभा के, मगर यहाँ पे हमें अलाउ नहीं किया जा रहा।
आप लोगों को आगे जाने नहीं दिया जा रहा है, पूरे को बैरिकेड कर दिया गया है, आपको इस पर क्या कहना है सर?
नहीं, हम तो यहाँ खड़े हैं, अब क्या करें, पुलिस वाले रोक रहे हैं, हम खड़े हैं। ठीक है,
आपके जो एमपीज हैं उनको डिटेन भी किया गया है?
हाँ, वो यहाँ पे हम सब आए थे, एक एक करके घसीट के ले गए, 2-3 को मारा भी है।
A muscle flex that goes beyond the party's trials and tribulations, Rahul's Mission Black had 5 basic objectives. Mission 1, shift focus to price rise, GST, jobs and inflation. Mission 2, pile pressure on the government before the 75th Independence Day celebrations. Mission 3, show that the Congress is not on the back foot over the Herald case. Mission 4, reclaim primacy in the opposition narrative. And Mission 5, show that the Gandhis are not defensive over Enforcement Directorate actions. The primacy of the Gandhis on the streets of Lutyens, Delhi was also a move to debunk the impression of the two siblings as part-time netas. With Congress presidential polls scheduled for this month, Friday's Dharna practically clears the decks for Rahul to return as Congress president.
मैं अपने नेता को बचाने के लिए आऊंगा, मेरा नेता मुझे बचाता है। अगर इसको वो परिवार की परिभाषा बना देते हैं तो मुझे कोई उसमें कष्ट नहीं।
And while this is a clear message from the Gandhis to a bickering and divided opposition, it's conclusive proof that only the Gandhis can galvanize the principal opposition party. With Mosmi Singh, Milan Sharma and Supriya Bharadwaj in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today. At 9:30 in the morning, Rahul Gandhi kicked off the proceedings with a press conference where he said that this was a dictatorship that India was descending into. Minutes later, he changed out of his kurta, wore a black shirt, and then the bomb just exploded on the streets of Delhi. Here's a blow-by-blow look at how things went sequentially from the Congress office to the streets outside Parliament to the rest of central Delhi. This is how it unfolded. A mega all-black Akrosh led by Sonia Gandhi. Barricades breached. Big face-off with the Delhi police. Senior Congress leaders detained. The Congress at the peak of its anger, fueled by National Herald heat, hit the streets as they staged a mega dangal in the national capital against price rise, GST on food and unemployment. It all began with chaotic scenes outside the Congress headquarters. Congress leaders and workers were seen raising slogans as they defied the police ban on their protests. Dramatic images of the protests surfaced when the workers were seen clashing with the police outside Parliament. Congress party leaders, including members of Parliament, were seen wearing black bands on their arms as a mark of protest. Their Black Friday. The Congress MPs tried to march from Parliament to Rashtrapati Bhavan, while party workers sought to ghirao the Prime Minister's residence. The showdown escalated when Congress MPs, including Rahul Gandhi and Shashi Tharoor, were detained by the police during the Dharna.
हम तो यहाँ खड़े हैं, अब क्या करें? पुलिस वाले रोक रहे हैं, हम खड़े हैं। यहाँ पे हम सब आए थे, एक एक करके घसीट के ले गए। 2-3 को मारा भी है।
The protest took a further dramatic turn when Priyanka Gandhi entered the arena. Priyanka was seen breaching barricades and dodging police deployment to stage her own protest. In a fiery face-off, she was detained by the Delhi police when she tried to dodge arrest.
इनके मंत्री कह रहे हैं इनको महंगाई नहीं दिखती, तो हम पीएम हाउस तक चल के महंगाई दिखाना चाहते हैं, गैस का सिलेंडर दिखाना चाहते हैं, सब्जी खरीद सकते हैं, दाल, आटा, चावल, सरसों का तेल, सब कुछ महंगा हो गया। गैस सिलेंडर किस लिए उठा के ले जा रहे हैं हम? क्योंकि नहीं दिख रही है ना महंगाई। देखिए ये सिलेंडर कितना महंगा हो गया कि कोई खरीद ही नहीं सकता।
Several other Congress leaders were manhandled, dragged and detained by the Delhi police. Some of the Congress netas resorted to their own kind of unique protests. They were seen cooking outside Parliament to highlight the rise in cooking gas prices. With Milan Sharma in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today. I want to go across to India Today. Supriya Bharadwaj, who's been tracking every escalation that has taken place today. Starting 9 a.m. today, she's been in those crowds. She's gotten you all the voices first and exclusive here on India Today. The only journalist to get both Priyanka and Rahul's voice today. Supriya, behind you is the Kingsway Camp Police Station. Rahul Gandhi, Priyanka Gandhi, senior leaders of the Congress party, all still in there. What are you hearing from inside? When are they going to be released?
Well, Shiv, first and foremost, that the information we are getting is that around 7:30 p.m. these leaders will be released from here where we are at Kingsway Camp. Just now, Chhattisgarh Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel has also reached. Already Ashok Gehlot was detained along with Priyanka Gandhi and was brought here. So both the chief ministers are also present here. This entire area has also turned into a fortress. We have seen that it was the Friday fury which the Congress party has unleashed in the national capital and also across the country. The issue was that of price rise and unemployment. Well, Rahul Gandhi made it loud and clear in the morning itself in that special press conference. He said the only problem he has is that he speaks truth and he will continue to speak truth, and he knows the more truth he speaks about the state of conditions in the country, the more he will be targeted. He even went on saying that the more his political opponents are going to target him, the more happy he is, because it's going to strengthen him and his resolve. Congress party MPs in the morning stage protest inside the Parliament House. Then they walked up to Vijay Chowk, where we saw this massive showdown between Delhi police and the Congress MPs. The third epicenter, Shiv, was the AICC headquarters, where Priyanka Gandhi, along with other leaders, were trying to march up to the residence of Prime Minister Mr. Modi. And now this is the fourth epicenter, where I would ask my camperson Deepak to just show you what is happening now. Slowly, the Congress workers have started coming here. Well, the Chhattisgarh Chief Minister has just reached here, and you can see as to how in this area also there is a massive, not just police deployment, but even that of the paramilitary force officials who are present in large number. The Vajra has been stationed. Still we haven't got any confirmation as to by what time these leaders will be released from here. All we can say is that Rahul Gandhi, along with Priyanka Gandhi, and all the other MPs and senior leaders of the Congress party, around 80 top leaders of the Congress party are present here at the Kingsway camp.
Right.
And still no word till what time they'll be released. Only thing we are getting is that around 7:30 p.m. there can be some movement. But one thing is for sure, Shiv, there are two big messages which are coming out from this entire thing. First being that the entire Congress party has sent a message loud and clear that Gandhis are their leaders, and they will they will fight tooth and nail for their leadership and under their leadership. The second message is that somewhere the poll bugles for 2024 Lok Sabha polls have been blown. These are the issues on which Congress is saying that they will continue to protest till 2024, because first being that of price rise, then being that of unemployment, and third being that of the communal harmony on which Rahul Gandhi is going to carry out a protest, it's going to carry out a march.
And we'll have to see how long they can actually sustain it, because the question that will now arise after Rahul and Priyanka are released from prison, from inside the police station, and stay with me, Supriya, is, is this a street fight today or a war for India or a war for the Gandhis? Is it a one-off, show of strength by the Congress party, or has, like Supriya said, the war for 2024 been declared? Can the Gandhis, especially Rahul, sustain this momentum? Because what appears clear right now is that Rahul Gandhi is going to be the president of the Congress party. Whether officially or unofficially, it doesn't make a difference. Maybe it's going to be formalized very soon. But the Congress will be hoping that this agitation gives them the push they require to turn the tide against the Modi government. Remember, the Modi government says this is all drama by a bunch of dynasts for the high command of the Congress party and nothing more. Take a look. Big question. The beginnings of the big war for 2024? Or just another one-off street fight? A question that will haunt the Congress as it pulls off another high-voltage Dharna in the national capital. Its third in the last few weeks. With the party's muscle fully energized on Friday around the three towering figures of the Gandhis, a question echoes without pause. Can the Gandhis sustain this aggression? The BJP has scoffed at the Dharna as typical Gandhi theatrics for a dying party.
हिटलर चुनाव कैसे जीतता था? हिटलर चुनाव ऐसे जीतता था कि जर्मनी के पूरे इंस्टीट्यूशंस उसके हाथ में थे. उसके पास एसए थी, पैरामिलिट्री फोर्स थी, उसके पास पूरा का पूरा ढांचा था। मुझे पूरा का पूरा ढांचा दे दो, फिर मैं दिखाऊंगा आपको कैसे इलेक्शन जीता जाता है।
ये उनकी हताशा है, तो जनता का विश्वास है, यही तो लोकतंत्र है। तो फिर कहूंगा, राहुल गांधी जी, अगर जनता आपको वोट नहीं देती तो कृपया करके लोकतंत्र को आरोप लगाना बंद करिए।
Well, for a party that's fighting on multiple fronts, fighting against internal implosions, against a chain reaction of electoral defeats, and even the territorial ambitions of other opposition parties, Friday's protest is being crafted as a signal moment. The Congress hopes this turns the tide against the Modi Sarkar.
Our job is to resist these forces. Our job is to make sure that Indian democracy is protected. Our job is to raise issues of the people like unemployment.
उनके लिए महंगाई तो है नहीं, उन्होंने तो पूरी देश की संपत्ति, मोदी जी ने पूरे देश की संपत्ति अपने दोस्तों को दे दी है, उन पे कभी कोई कार्रवाई नहीं है।
As a political party and as elected representatives, we are bound to voice the grievances, the burden and the fears of the people, which is what we are doing.
इस तरीके से सरकार काम कर रही है, हिरासत में ले रही है, सैकड़ों बार हमारे सांसदों को, हम लोगों को अरेस्ट किया जा रहा है, अपनी बात रोकने से रोका जा रहा है, ये अलोकतांत्रिक है।
To be sure, the Congress has immediate as well as long-term objectives from Black Friday. For now, the Gandhis are hoping to capture the political mood and blunt the government's planned celebrations ahead of India's 75th Independence Day. Rahul especially hopes that with the national chatter dominated by the Herald case and Enforcement Directorate actions, he now gets to establish the narrative with price rise, GST, inflation and unemployment. The Gandhis will also be hoping that this power play proves a tipping point for the Congress party and triggers a larger party revival. Last but definitely not least, the ferocity of the protests is a message to other opposition parties that friendly fire among a divided opposition has only handed the advantage to the ruling BJP. As always with the Congress, it comes down to one thing. Does the party have the stamina, will and resources to convert a few hours of lighting up TV screens to a sustained national battle-ready campaign for 2024? Bureau Report, India Today. I want to take you, the viewer, straight back to Delhi's Kingsway Police Station, Kingsway Camp Police Station, where Supriya continues to be with us. Kunal also joining us. Kunal, Rahul and Priyanka are still in there with the other netas. We understand by around 7 p.m. they may be released. They have definitely, the spotlight has been on them, Kunal, non-stop since around 10 this morning. Non-stop. There has been no other story in the media except Rahul and Priyanka today as a result of the actions that were taken during this entire protest. The question that many will be asking is, can they sustain the stamina of this protest? Kunal, you've covered politics, you've covered the Congress party. What is their next step? How are they planning to take this forward now?
See, there are several challenges, Shiv, before Congress party as well and before the sister-brother duo as well.
Yeah.
One thing is that they are seeking a change of narrative. They want to change the narrative. Actually, right now what government is portraying that we are in the Amrit Kal of, they are celebrating Amrit Kal of Azadi Mahotsav. And at the same time, this kind of protest, that is, they are just trying to change the narrative and trying to portray that at the time when ED is targeting the opposition leaders, actually there are other several issues which government has to focus upon, like inflation and even what they are saying that jobs are critical, joblessness is at a critical juncture, and that's why they are right now, I can show you the pictures right behind me, that inside this premises, Rahul and Priyanka along with other MPs and even chief ministers, they are sitting for now 4 hours almost, and that's why this fight is quite critical. And your question is also quite relevant, that can they sustain, because they are not just facing challenge from the government, they are facing challenges from other political parties, other
Yes.
opposition parties like Aam Aadmi Party and Trinamool Congress as well. So there are fights on several fronts. And as Supriya was mentioning that it might be a start for 2024 campaign, but that campaign won't be that easy. There will be several challenges, and it might be a beginning to fight against all those challenges.
And we're going to have a big debate on this at 7:30 p.m. today with Akshita also on whether this is a one-off street fight that the Congress has indulged in just because of the Gandhis, or is it going to be a larger narrative-bending, battle-ready campaign for 2024? Those are big political questions that only the Congress can answer in the hours and the days ahead. At 7 p.m. when Rahul Gandhi and Priyanka are expected to be released from the Kingsway Camp police station, both Kunal and Supriya will be live with us. Thanks very much, both of you, for joining me on this story. Meanwhile, while the Congress has hit the streets and they're still out there, their leaders are in detention with the police, trouble continues to rise for both Rahul and Sonia Gandhi in the National Herald scam case. Enforcement Directorate sources have told India Today that during the investigation into the Herald case so far, the last few days, including the grilling, the sealing and the raids that have taken place, none of the Congress netas that were questioned have been able to prove that all financial decisions were actually taken, as they claimed, by the late treasurer of the Congress party, Motilal Vora. Rahul Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi and others in their statements have said that all financial transactions were overseen by the late Motilal Vora, as he was treasurer of not just Congress party but also these two entities, AJL and Young Indian Limited. Well, during the course of the investigation, the Enforcement Directorate has come across, they say, several shell companies. And the ED says it has found suspicious entries, Hawala entries, in the account books during the raids of the National Herald's real estate assets in different parts of the country. And that could be more trouble for the Gandhis. If there are Hawala transactions that are proven to be illegal in this manner that is being suggested, then it takes this entire investigation completely to the next level. Remember, the Congress says no wrongdoing has taken place.
ये मोदी मेड महंगाई है, तो इन लोगों को समझ पे नहीं आ रहा है आम गरीब मजदूर लोग कैसे जी रहा है। पूरा जो ग्रामीण इलाका में जो सिलेंडर से लेके हर चीज मोदी है तो महंगाई है, बीजेपी है तो महंगाई है। तार जानबूझ के सरकार ने कहीं ना कहीं महंगाई रोकने में कोई सोच नहीं किया है अपने लोगों के अलावा।
काम है देश की रक्षा करना।
Let's show you which Congress netas are currently under the scanner in the continuing raids and investigation that is taking place at this time. Let's put it on our screen. The Hawala entries that are under the scanner, raids are aimed at looking into suspected Hawala entries in different parts of the country at this point of time. The entries in the accounts books are suspicious as far as the Enforcement Directorate is concerned. Hawala entries have been found in transactions made in Kolkata as well as in Mumbai. And that's the reason why trouble could be up for the Gandhis, Rahul and Sonia in particular, at this point of time. And now we've got breaking news coming in from the other side of the opposition. First pictures of the Modi-Mamta meeting that's taking place in the national capital. Let's break that picture, put it on our screen immediately. This image of Prime Minister Modi with Mamta Banerjee, West Bengal Chief Minister. Remember, their two parties are at loggerheads, their two governments are at loggerheads. The big jobs, cash for jobs scam has taken center stage in West Bengal over Partho Chatterjee and his friend Arpita Mukherjee amidst that entire atmosphere of hostility, animosity and political rivalry. Here comes the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Mamta Banerjee. She's in Delhi on official work. She's called on the Prime Minister. Post her meeting with Modi, she will also meet President Draupadi Murmu at 6 p.m. The West Bengal Chief Minister will attend a Niti Aayog meeting on August the 7th. Also on the cards is a meeting with opposition leaders. Remember, the Trinamool and the Congress party, which has hit the streets in a big way today, have their own bickering and rivalry, as a result of which opposition unity has been a kind of faraway dream as far as the upcoming Lok Sabha elections are concerned. But Mamata Banerjee meeting with the Prime Minister is very tantalizing politically, given everything that's happening between their governments and their political parties, especially not just at the centre, but also in West Bengal. The full story of what happened in this meeting will be here on India Today in just a few minutes. I'll get you an update as soon as that meeting is over. Very quick break. On the other side, I'm taking you from India to Taiwan to show you how China has relentlessly escalated hostilities and aggression. The air of intimidation continues non-stop. Taiwan has just claimed that over 100 Chinese warplanes have been flying in their airspace. More details coming up.
Is it so hot and humid in your city that you're finding it difficult to fall asleep? Well, you are not alone. Hundreds and lakhs of people in India are facing this problem, and now it has been documented. It's now clear that heat waves are messing up our sleep patterns. This has to do largely with your body temperature in the night. Our bodies are tuned in to dropping body heat in the night to help us sleep. The hormone melatonin serves essentially as a natural alarm clock. When it's nighttime, it widens the blood vessels in our hands and feet to get rid of heat from our bodies. So what really happens when the air around us is too hot? When temperature goes up, deep sleep gets affected. Deep sleep for at least a few hours is the bare minimum we all need to ensure our body truly gets the rest it requires.
Sleep deprivation can lead to various mental health disorders. The most commonly seen are depression and anxiety. Chronic insomnia, that is chronic sleep disturbances, can lead to something called as early onset dementia, which is again a memory disorder. So it is important, in order to maintain our mental health as well as physical health, that we give ourselves adequate sleep.
Now, there is not just the problem of rising temperatures, there is also the problem of the pandemic. COVID-19 has interfered with our sleep patterns, and this too has now been documented. The pandemic ruined sleep cycles. The stress and anxiety of COVID, added to the work from home patterns, completely hit our lifestyle choices. A recent survey by a social media platform found that 54% Indians surveyed confirmed that their sleep patterns have changed post the pandemic. Many of these Indians speak about the fact that they're suffering from sleep apnea, finding it difficult to go off to sleep or sleep properly at a stretch altogether. This has now even got a term called coronasomnia, caused by personal stress, by grief of losing a loved one, and even anxiety over any COVID-related news.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
You can buy Taj Mahal, and quite literally so, on a metaverse. But only if it is sold as an NFT virtual land. NFT virtual land is an ownable area of digital land on a metaverse platform. And metaverse is like a digital duplicate of the real world, where you can buy, sell things, including land in this case. NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, here would represent land ownership. So when you buy a virtual land in a metaverse, NFT is proof that you own it. Singer Dilair Mehendi even bought virtual real estate on the Indian metaverse platform called Party Night. He's now named the property Balle Balle Land. The price of a virtual land is evaluated similarly to NFTs or cryptos. Virtual land price will depend on its use cases and utility. For instance, if in a metaverse or a digital world, your virtual land receives many visitors, you can charge for advertising. It's fairly simple now. You can purchase it from projects or through marketplaces like Decentraland. You can also buy from NFT exchange platforms where a buyer and seller is protected by a smart contract. A smart contract is a self-executing contract with the terms of the agreement between buyer and seller.
We can make NFTs of all the monuments we have, and we can create those NFTs, and we can actually create an NFT of Taj Mahal, and just imagine what hype it will have. And Taj Mahal can be bought as an NFT without giving the ownership right of the Taj Mahal, obviously. So imagine in the country today, we only get 300 crores from all these monuments, from tourism. Imagine if we put all these monuments on metaverse through NFTs, we can earn another 300 crores in there.
So virtual lands have many use cases. For instance, in India, it can hypothetically add to tourism economy. But if you are buying virtual land in India and earning gains through it, be ready to pay a flat 30% tax. And just like that, the difference between the real world versus the virtual world is now blur.
In what appears to be another big escalation by China around the island of Taiwan, Taiwan's defense ministry has just announced that 68 Chinese Air Force aircraft and 13 warships have crossed the median line in the Taiwan Strait on Friday. That's today. Taiwan says we strongly condemn such intentional intrusions. China, meanwhile, has released a statement saying that the PLA, that's the People's Liberation Army Eastern Theater Command Air Force, on Friday has continued its Air Force drills around the island of Taiwan with fighters, bombers, early warning aircraft and electronic reconnaissance planes. Pilots say they could visually confirm Taiwan's coastline and the central mountain range. So the war drills are escalating, the intensity, the number of aircraft and warships being used to encircle Taiwan, to intimidate Taiwan, increasing. I want to go across to India Today's National Bureau Chief Abhishek Bhalla, tracking all of these images, all of these statements very closely. Abhishek, it looks like what's happening today is much bigger, much more intense than the war drills that were taking place yesterday. Clearly, China is cranking things up incrementally.
Certainly looks like a big escalation, Shiv. And, just to give a comparison, over the last 2 days, the firing range, if one can say, has gotten much closer to the Taiwanese mainland, much closer to the island. And, if one is to compare what is happening now and what happened back in 1995-96, when there was a similar kind of a large-scale deployment and, these kind of exercises, then one would easily analyze that this time the distance from where the Chinese were targeting areas is far ahead now, because there are not only several warships in the Taiwan Strait, there are repeated air incursions, 68 today have been reported by the Taiwan Ministry of Defense. Other than that, several warships, which include 2 aircraft carriers. So both the aircraft carriers are hovering around in the Taiwan Strait area, which clearly demonstrates.
In fact, we've got that, Abhishek. We've got that piece of breaking news on our screens coming in right now. Like you just said, the US too is stepping up its offensive. The aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan, a nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, has been ordered to remain in the Taiwan Sea and monitor the situation as it develops. The White House has said that the Ronald Reagan aircraft carrier, massive aircraft carrier, nuclear-powered, with lots of F-18 Super Hornet aircraft and missiles on it, has been asked to stay in the Taiwan region until further notice. Taiwan has said that it seeks no escalation, but its armed forces are committed to protecting Taiwanese territory and its citizens. Remember, the United States is committed to protecting Taiwan in the event of any direct show of force by China. For instance, if it attacks or it fires a missile. So this is becoming a situation that is in rapid escalation, clearly. Geeta Mohan, our Foreign Affairs editor, also live with me on this story. Geeta, carrier battle group ordered by the White House to stay in the Taiwan region, clearly in response to China ratcheting things up. 68 aircraft, bombers, fighters crossing the median line within visual range of the Taiwanese island. The island is completely on red alert, so no surprises that the White House has issued orders as well.
Shiv, unprecedented escalation by China over here, like we were discussing, through the past few days. This is a red line that China would not want any country or any other leader of the United States of America to really cross. And that's why the moves are not just internal or regional, wherein you're seeing for the first time breaching not just the median line, but flying over islands that belong to Taiwan or to neighboring nations. Japan has also escalated the issue of how their territorial waters have been breached. And this entire escalation will continue not just with Taiwan, Shiv. We're looking at the kind of sanctions and decisions that China is taking with regards to the United States of America. Critical meetings, these are 2 P5 nations we're talking about. Critical meetings being cancelled. Climate, technology, defense, all meetings being cancelled would mean that there will be no forward movement on many fronts when it comes to global conversations. So a lot of cost to pay for a Pelosi visit.
Okay, so the war drums are beating and there's a huge diplomatic breakdown, as Geeta said, between the United States and China at this point of time over Taiwan. Geeta and Abhishek, thank you very much for that. Let me, summarize for you all the meetings that have been cancelled. This is what diplomatic breakdown actually looks like over that one Nancy Pelosi visit. China and the US theater commanders' talks have been cancelled at this point of time. China-US defense policy coordination talks have been cancelled or kept on hold at this point of time. China and the US military maritime consultative meet has been cancelled at this point of time. China-US cooperation on repatriation of immigrants, even such a thing has been put on hold at this point of time. Certain meetings have also been suspended. China-US talks on legal aid in criminal matters suspended. China-US cooperation against transnational crimes has been suspended. China-US counter-narcotics cooperation meeting suspended. Talks on climate change as well have been suspended. So total diplomatic breakdown as a result of Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan. And visibly and through the words being spoken, tensions are only soaring between China and Taiwan after Nancy Pelosi's visit. Very, very visible. On Thursday, multiple Chinese aircraft and vessels conducted military exercises and continued to escalate around Taiwan. They crossed the median line over the Taiwan Straits and are continuing to do so. Taiwan has condemned these actions as highly provocative. Beijing has escalated its military drills after Pelosi's Taiwan visit and has sent over 100 warplanes so far, total, around the island of Taiwan since that time, including, as Taiwan says, 68 aircraft today. China has also fired multiple missiles that have splashed down, across or around Taiwan. China had warned Taiwan of grave consequences during the US speaker's visit earlier this week. China has also sanctioned Nancy Pelosi and her family over her visit to Taiwan. Meanwhile, Nancy Pelosi, who's now in Tokyo, continues to shower praise on Taiwan while pledging US solidarity to the island nation. Pelosi stated that her Asia trip, which led to this unprecedented military drills by a seething China, was never about changing the regional status. Here's a report.
U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has defended her high-profile visit to Taiwan earlier this week, claiming it was never intended to change the regional status quo, but rather to preserve peace in the Taiwan Strait. Speaking at a news conference in Tokyo on Friday, Pelosi addressed the Chinese military drills and missiles which went off around the island in the wake of her unannounced but highly anticipated visit. She further vowed not to isolate the self-ruled island claimed by Beijing.
They may try to keep Taiwan from visiting or participating in other places, but they will not isolate Taiwan by preventing us to travel there. We've had high-level visits, senators in the spring, a bipartisan way, continuing visits, and we will not allow them to isolate Taiwan.
Pelosi's stop in Taiwan marks the highest level visit by a U.S. official in 25 years, where she met with Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen and praised the island's democracy and human rights record. Beijing was quick to condemn Pelosi's trip, which also took her through Singapore, Malaysia, and South Korea before ending in Japan, one of Washington's closest allies. 5 of the missiles fired off by Beijing this week landed in Japan's exclusive economic zone, prompting further warnings from Tokyo that increasing Chinese military activity in the Taiwan Strait threatens both national and wider regional security. China's military exercises near Taiwan have further disrupted key shipping lanes and prompted several commercial airlines to reroute or cancel their flights around the island for the time being. In response to the increasing military action nearby, Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen said Taiwan would not provoke conflicts, but would firmly defend its sovereignty and national security. Premier Su Tseng-chang had stronger words, referring to China as the, quote, evil neighbor showing off her power at our door.
And news just breaking here on India Today. 14-day judicial custody for both Arpita Mukherjee and Partha Chatterjee, former Trinamool minister in West Bengal, in the jobs for cash scam. After those mountains of cash and gold ornaments have been found, 14 days judicial custody for both Partha Chatterjee and his close friend Arpita Mukherjee in this colossal scam in West Bengal. Both have been remanded to 14 days extended Enforcement Directorate custody. Clearly, the evidence against them is piling up. We'll have a full update on this from Kolkata with Nabila on the other side of this very short break. Stay with us. The full extent of the Enforcement Directorate now on these two people. One of them very close to Mamata Banerjee. Full update coming up next.
We've just concluded the historic 5G spectrum auctions. How satisfied are you with the outcome of this, and what is its significance?
See, the 5G spectrum auction has concluded with good success. It's a reflection of Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's reform program. In September last year, he set out a very important structural and procedural reform. He followed it up with reforms in WPC, which is the spectrum management body of the country. Then there were reforms in how telecom towers are set, how the optical fiber cable which has to be laid, so what are the ROW permissions. So there is a whole series of reforms across the gamut of telecom sector, and what we see today, The result of the spectrum auction is basically a reflection of that reform process.
Now, in terms of the amount collected, the sums that were there, is it as anticipated, or you expected less, more? What did you think would happen in this?
So before the auction, all the estimates which were there from the analysts, from the industry bodies and everybody, the general anticipation was that anywhere between 80,000 to 1 lakh crore would be the spectrum auction result. But we are very glad that the whole industry has now come out of the deep trouble that it was in and getting into a new growth phase. That's why they've been able to take spectrum throughout all the bands, 700, 800, 900, 1800. So almost all the bands which were put to auction have been taken by the industry, and that's why the numbers which have come, 1,50,000 crore, is basically a reflection that the industry is coming out of its deep trouble.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.